This is free advice for anybody that wants to jump into content creation. I made a tweet a while ago. The tweet basically said for any aspiring content creators that are looking to get in the gacha space, or just like in general, right? The gaming space, the games you should be looking at to jump into the current space of whatever it is. I'm sure I'm gonna miss some up, but the main ones that I said, hey, wait, before you start enjoying the video, I actually have an ad, like a sponsored ad. So you kind of have to watch it. Because if you don't, we're gonna have problems. Not the good kind, like the bad kind, the toe sucking kind. Not for me though. Not for me.
Tired of boring browsers? Does your current browser not have any anime waifus? Then just break up with that guy and get with a real browser like Opera GX. The all-new Opera GX is a browser for gamers and anime fans alike. Customize every detail with GX mods, cool splash screens with new themes, sound effects, and visuals inspired by your favorite gacha games. Head on over to the GX store for endless customization. Download mods that suit your vibe or create your own. And don't you worry, there's no pity system here. Binge your favorite anime while you work or play. The video pop-out feature lets you multitask like a boss. What's that? Worried about switching browsers? Well, with Opera's quick import tool, you can easily import your settings and extensions from your old browser in literal seconds. Download Opera GX today using the link in the description and pinned comment. Now let's all thank Opera GX for sponsoring today's video. Back to you, Tom.
Wuthering Waves, Zenless Zone Zero, Genshin Impact is still up there in terms of the gacha stuff, but if you don't want to play that, it's fine. Monster Hunter Wilds, GTA 6, and something else. But the reason that I said that is because you have to look at the trajectory of what these developers are doing and what the content or the content space itself is doing, right? Now let's break down, an infield, that's what it was, infield. Let's break down why, from a gacha perspective, we'll list those games. Zenless Zone Zero, Wuthering Waves, infield, and we can even like pause on infield, right? We don't have to exactly say infield because it's not out yet. Let's pause on infield. Let's talk about what's out right now that you can actually start doing right now. Wuthering Waves, Zenless Zone Zero, and Genshin Impact. Before I explain those, I'm going to explain why for right now, something like Star Rail wouldn't work. And it's very simple. Star Rail won't work for the same reasons that Genshin Impact was kind of crucified for a little bit ago, right? Genshin was crucified for not listening to the players, making changes that nobody asked for, and not making changes that they felt were pretty imperative to the game. Star Rail is going through that right now. The main difference in Star Rail's case, though, is that Star Rail is showing its greed. I said that a little bit before, and we also have the, how do I put it? What did I say earlier about, I said developers and the content space, right? Both of those things need to be hand in hand. Star Rail's space for content is kind of right now. I'm not going to hold you. It's not good. Most of the creators that are playing in Star Rail or making content for Star Rail, most of them are not satisfied with the game right now. They're not enjoying the game. And so that shows in their content, myself included. Like the Tribi and like Aglaya, right? Those are like the last couple of things that I did there. I'm like, oh, I'm having fun. But the populace is not having fun. They don't like that. And so that shows, which then turns into a negative feedback, if you will, for the space as a whole. And there's a lot of negative opinions about Star right now. We do also have the whole casters thing. I'm not going to talk about it specifically on what it is, but you know what it is. I know what it is. I think everybody at this point knows what it is, right? That is a good concept to apply to a game like Star Rail, which any gacha game, but it is bad right now. The execution, their choice, if they allow this to happen, being account wide, that is why it's bad, because it's tied behind a limited character. It's not the actual ability, right? The account wide thing isn't a problem. Them putting it or attaching it to a limited character is the problem. This also goes into, rather expresses a lot more, the power creep conversations, having conversations about the game itself, and like, because the power creep and the whole like what free to plays deal with and like what they don't have access to, because that is so loud, we can't actually have conversations about the things that are wrong with the game and that can be improved upon right now, both from the player perspective and from the developer perspective. So Star Rail's in the dirt. All right, that's the easiest way to say it. There's so much community-wise that is keeping the positivity that could be there underneath the ground, right? And because the developers are like, we're going to keep making bad decisions. It doesn't help their case. That's what's going on there. Now, beyond that point, let's go ahead and go into why the other games that I named have the highest forms of success. We just went over Zenless, right? We just got through watching the Zenless live stream here, which is amazing, by the way. This is one of their best special programs that they've put out. Why was this so important? Zenless is constantly improving on itself. At the start of the game, Zenless was rocky. I'm not going to hold you on that. And it wasn't everybody's cup of tea, which is fine. The players that stuck with it, and the players that were interested in it kind of kept up with it, but didn't really keep up with it. Version 1.4 really changed the game. It brought a lot of old players back, and it rewarded the veteran players who were still playing the game, which is awesome. So now you have a situation where Zenless at this current moment of time is one of the few gacha games that is able to, everything is viable, so to speak, right? So if you're a veteran player, you're a new player, you're thinking about getting in the game, whatever, there are opportune times for you to jump into the game where you can set your account up for like great success. You're awesome. And this puts any player in a position to maximize their play time to reward, if that makes sense, right? Like the time you invest into the game is rewarded more so here than it would be somewhere else. And so from a content perspective, yeah, Zenless is a game, it's action based, where a lot more thought processes should be going into this game. I try to do that from my own perspective here in my own community. I like to open up people's, like, how do you think about the game, right? It's not as static as people like to think about it. And because it's not as static, so we'll use calculations, right? Let's say that I calc something or someone calcs something and it's like, hey, do 1, 2, 3. This is what you always do. It's always going to work. It's going to do this much damage, guaranteed. Awesome, right? That's not the case in Zenless Zone Zero. It doesn't always work that way, which is, I mean, it's fine, right? It's fine that it doesn't always work that way, but it's a lot more versatile. It's open. You have different opportunities to do stuff. You can make that into content. Hollow Zero, they've been treating this mode so well in Zenless. It's an amazing mode, which I guess we could probably like kind of like show that a little bit too, right? It's somewhere back here. We have a whole new boss coming into Hollow Zero. We have whole new attack patterns and characters getting upgrades and different moves and, you know, abilities, things they don't have normally in the game. All of that is getting packed inside of Hollow Zero, which is a permanent mode, something that you can always make content on or do. We have 3 to 4 different in-game modes in Zenless that you can all make forms of content around if you decided to do that. Overall, oh, and the events, all the events are like crazy fun right now, right? Zenless is cooking right now for everything. Story's fire, the pacing's fire, the direction of the game is fire. Like it's on an upwards trend. So jumping into the game, positive, yeah. And so that's great. Now we can move on to Weathering and like why I said Weathering was going to be in there. Weathering is in a similar situation. At a rocky start, which they made up for at that time, which some people like to neglect that fact, but that is what happened. Weathering had a rocky start and they made up for it with giving out a bunch of free shit. We got 2 free weapon selectors, if I'm not mistaken, but I could be wrong on that. We definitely got 2 free character selectors, right? Like just straight up, hey, you want a 5-star character? Boom. Here you go, man. We got 2 of those. We got a fork ton of premium currency that we were able to use to pull immediately, right? I remember day one, there were so many issues. Day one was just a variety of different players that by day 2, we had enough pools. If you just started the game, we had like 50 or 60 pools to just like whale right on whatever the hell you wanted to. So they made it worth your while at that time. Now, right, going further than that, we're jumping into Weathering Ways now. Weathering is in a position, it's just going up. It's the same thing as Zenless. They are doing everything right. They're listening to the developers. They're not developers, my bad. The developers are listening to the audience, the community. They're doing a lot right. They're pushing different directions, if you will. They're trying new things. And if it doesn't work out, then like, well, community didn't like that. How do we fix it? Let's look at this, let's look at that. And what I will say, one of the key things about Weathering is that they're very responsive to the community. So if the community is like having an outrage or an outcry and they don't like this thing or they think this thing is busted, broken, whatever, the developers of Weathering are like, we'll look at it. And they really look at it. They really sit there and like, okay, well, maybe we can change this, maybe we can change that, things of the sort. I think right now, those 2 games are number 2 or number 1. They're literally competing for number 1 best gacha right now. I said I tweet, not as much, but when I do tweet about like gachas and stuff like that, it's usually something along those lines of like some insight that I'm thinking of or like thought of for a little bit. Zenless and Weathering are the 2 best gachas on the space right now. They're up there. Now, both Zenless and Weathering kind of suffer the same issue. And when I say this issue, it's not an issue in terms of like this makes the game bad. That's not what I'm referring to. Remember, developer and community have to come together. Okay. Right now, both of these games are suffering from not enough community. Not enough content is being produced to highlight all the awesome stuff I'm talking about in relation to the games. There are creators who are doing it, but there's not enough like lights being shined on this stuff, right? You don't need 50,000 creators to do it, but you do need the few creators who are doing it need to be elevated so that the rest of the community can kind of look at that. Now, why did I mention Genshin earlier? I've been saying this for the last like 2 years. I've studied the fuck out of content when it comes to the gacha space, and Genshin is always in there. I usually say the same thing, and I say it in a pretty aggressive way. I'm not trying to be aggressive about it. It's not up for debate, okay? I've done the research. You can do the research. It is right there in your face. It's on YouTube. It's on TikTok. It's on Instagram. It's everywhere. Genshin is still #1 in terms of content. Not content the game has, although technically that is true too. It is #1 in terms of how much content is produced. It's up there, right? The community aspect for Genshin is the largest aspect compared to every other gacha game that we have right now. You could find any reason as to why that is. You could put it as a testament to the fact that it's the older game, it's the king, it's the birthright, right? The birth of these type of gacha games, whatever. COVID boost. It's not the COVID boost. Please stop saying that. That's so it's ignorant to continue to give that benefit to the COVID boost. No, it's not that anymore. There are some case studies that I will share with you guys as to why these channels have kind of like gone boom in a way. I don't remember the young girl's name. She's recent. It's literally a recent blow up. Sid Sincieta or something like that, or Sid SYD something. It's a young girl, young black girl, and she just loves the game, plays Genshin. You might have seen the video already. And actually multiple of her videos are about having a C6 Shinha. And it's nothing crazy, right? But these videos are taking off. They're blowing up for her. They are changing her life as we speak. She's gone from 2,000 or 3,000 subs to about 17,000 subscribers, I think, in counting. I could be wrong on the number, but in a matter of like a couple weeks, like literally 2 or 3 weeks, she's gone from having less than 5K subs to now hitting double digits in subscribers. Her video count, view count is blowing up. Another creator that I love pointing out for this fact is Jadalee. Jadalee started her channel. At this current moment of the video, it would be about 2 years, but the time that I was studying her, it was 1 year. In 1 year, Jadalee grew over 100,000 subscribers off of just Genshin Impact. No other game has shown us the capability to do that from any of the creators that we have available to us right now, right? And this isn't reactionary content. This isn't drama baiting. This isn't theory crafting. This isn't calcs and guides. This is a pure love for the game, playing the game, making entertaining content, and appeasing that audience for the community. That is why it's so important, okay? Because you're making genuine, entertaining content that anybody can enjoy. I don't have to play Genshin to enjoy one of those videos. You don't have to play Genshin. You don't have to like Genshin to potentially enjoy one of those videos, right? That is why it goes boom the way that it does. Being able to grow that crazy, that fast. And again, there's multiple case studies that exist in on the space, right? TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, whatever, doesn't matter. You can name any of these platforms and they grow in that same fashion. They have the potential to grow in that same fashion. Why am I pushing that in such a way? Because the moment Zenless, and I do believe that this is the year Zenless and Wuthering will get creators like that. I think that there are going to be more creators that eventually find their flow, and it's going to boost it for Wuthering Waves. I believe these creators are going to get boosted for Zenless as well. And then of course, if like Azure Pamelia or Infield or whatever comes out later on in the year, then we'll reassess and talk about that, and then they'll have their own shine too. But as of right now, I think that's the case. Genshin has the formula. There's a large hate for Genshin. I get it. If more creators studied the content behind why Genshin succeeds the way it does, why you have your brands, your Doros, I'm trying to think of everybody really, your Jonathans, your Zioxes, yeah, Jadalee, why you have these type of creators that are within that bubble or within that sphere that just kind of, you know what I mean? And being able to study the content, use the content, like grow in that fashion and then sustain it, Having a big boom, being able to go boom, right? Possible. Sustaining that boom, that's the hard part. That's the hard part right there. That is, it takes a lot. But my main thing that I'm gonna end this off with here is that when you're doing that, being able to study that form of content or study like how they got to where they are, what they're doing, what the community likes, and they're very vocal about that, that's what helps you get in that position. When it comes to the other gacha games, Star Rail, Endless, Wuthering, I won't say Nikke because Nikke doesn't really have this issue. Nikke's issue is literally that it's just a little too perverted for the public eye. Not because it's a bad game, but it's hard to monetize that and then grow in that fashion. The other games that are essentially trying to push that form of content, again, developer community, right? Both things have to be in tandem with one another, go hand in hand. Genshin's problem right now is that the developers, they're not doing what they need to in order to make that game even better, but they're doing enough to appease the current largest community that is pumping up their creators, right? The Genshin community does a pretty good job of, here's creators we want to highlight. These are like, we don't even know the creators we don't want to highlight. You know what I'm saying? Like the creators that we don't want in the space or don't want in the spotlight, you don't hear about them until someone else brings it up. But the creators that you do want, it's up there. The other games are in reverse. It's really weird. And it's not everybody, right? Not all creators are, you know, on one side or the other, or like going up or down, things like that. I don't mean it that way. But what I am saying is that you know about more creators that you quote unquote don't want to know about in the other spaces versus creators that you do want to know about or should know about, right? I think everybody at this point in the Zenless space knows about Flaminsky, which is the Billy main, right? But someone outside of the space would have no idea who Flaminsky is. And it would be because we are not pumping up Flaminsky enough to be known as like, that's the guy to go to for the Billy main, right? Things like that. Or Apple was great. She's amazing, or they're amazing. Apple makes content, both guide-like and I don't want to say like speed running per se, but like runs, you know what I mean? Like optimized runs or trying to get the better runs down, things like that, things of the sort. Basically being able to pump you up in a way so that you can be a better player. Apple should be highlighted more. And we in the space know Apple, right? But outside of the space, it's not, I'm not going to say that everyone doesn't know, but you know what I'm saying, right? It's not one of those things. Is there a Jane Doe main? I don't know. If there is a Jane Doe main, by all means, they should speak up for sure. Jane Doe main's content creator, that'd be crazy. But it's harder to do that, right? In these games, because you have to play the game and then also be like at that caliber or find a way to have fun in the game. And like, that's the difference or the separation between Genshin and these other games. Like Genshin gives you that like, haha, hee casual off and find out kind of thing. And it gives you that environment to do so. Zenless and Wuthering don't really give you that environment to do so. Now I've said a lot about Wuthering as far as like, excuse me, the open world aesthetic behind it. And like some of the things that hold it back. 2.0 has drastically changed that, right? Even I'm playing Wuthering again because of 2.0. It's drastically changed the game, similar to how version 1.4 changed for Zenless and brought back old players. 2.0 did the same thing for Wuthering Waves, which is huge. It's a great thing for both games, which is why I say they're both like neck and neck in the same position that they're in. You have to, as a creator, right? You're taking this form of advice or watching this, you have to find a way to essentially produce the content that you want to see in the space, if that's what you want to do, right? And the only reason I'm saying that is because we've all seen it. If you're a part of both any of the gacha communities, really, you see, and this is not even a gacha thing, it's just the internet, negativity rises more than positivity. It's always a thing. And negativity doesn't mean like bad stuff. Negative does mean that in a way, but I mean that like negativity doesn't turn into, oh, here's this creator and why they hate that creator. Today we're going to talk about why this creator is a you know, a PDF. Like that's not what I mean by negativity. What I mean by the negativity is, let's say, I'll give you an example. If I make a game praising Zenless Zone Zero or Wuwa, and I say like this is the best thing in the world, I have never played a game like this in my life, it's awesome, right? I'll make a video on like why I'm having fun. This video will perform less than if I were to make a video and said why I hate Zenless or Wuthering, why I'm not having fun, why I'm not doing a great job. And this is the community's fault. This is why I say it's two-way, community, developer, right? And this isn't to like excuse any fault from the creator, right? Like if the creator makes a bad video, it's a bad video. And this is also not me saying that, because I know the community likes to do that. well, if they say something that we should criticize, then we should absolutely have the right to. I'm not talking about criticism. I'm not talking about someone having a take or a hot take and then it's whatever. I'm literally talking about the way the internet functions. If I say, yep, top 10 reasons why I hate blank game versus top 10 reasons why I love blank game, top 10 reasons why I hate the game is going to get promoted more. Why? Because the natural human response currently on the internet is to argue. It is to not listen to and hear and absorb and like, ha ha he he. It is, I need to incite chaos. This person said something that I don't agree with, so I need to respond to let them know why they're dumb or stupid or any other insult that I could hurl their way. And I also need to tell them why I'm right and other people like me are right and they're wrong. That is how it works. That's how it functions. The other gacha spaces, and Genshin has this too, but Genshin, like I said, they do a better job at promoting the stuff that they don't want to see. I mean, promoting stuff that they do want to see, the highlighting. And that I don't have a full answer to that, right? I'm not speaking on a definite right there. And if I am, then I apologize. But what I mean by that is maybe it's a creator thing. The creators don't highlight the negativity, so that's why you don't see it as much. Maybe it's the fact that like Genshin people are kind of, I say people like that's a slur. Genshin players are kind of like, that's their thing. You know what I mean? Like with the Natlin stuff, like, oh man, Natlin and black people, I'm gonna quit the game. That drama was around for like maybe a week tops. You know what I'm saying? And Genshin could come out and be like, hey, we're gonna release an update that fucks all players. You're still gonna have millions of players on Genshin. And that's just what they do. That's their game, you know? And you can knock it, you can hate it, you can call them weak, whatever the case may be. But that directly translates into what I'm explaining here and why that community is as pumped up as it is when it comes to like their space, you know? The other stuff, not so much. And it's a double-edged sword. It's a good thing and a bad thing, right? When Wuthering had their issues and everyone spoke out on it, not gonna play the game. What did Wuthering do? They fixed it. Now we're playing the game. When Star Rail does this type of stuff, and to be fair, Star Rail is in beta right now, but Star Rail is also similar. Now I will say, I have seen more players in the last month of February leaving or announcing they're leaving Star Rail, and they've been picking up other games. I've seen more players leaving Star Rail and going to games like Reverse 1999 or Fortnite, whatever, playing other games. Like they're actively leaving the game because of the state of the game right now, and they are not pleased as a player, which is fantastic. You have to do shit like that. If the game is not for you, if you're not happy with the game state, stop playing the game, stop spending money on the game, stop promoting the game, and that will carry forward very well because the developers will see that. But if you're going to continue to play the game, and this is why we crucify Genshin players for that, you're going to continue to play the game, but to complain about the game and how it's bad or whatever, and you don't stop, doesn't do any good. At that point, you're telling the developers they can get away with it, right? So that's kind of the situation that they're in community-wise. Now, going back to the final piece of the community and developer thing right there and whatnot, and Khalil, this will also help answer your question a little bit because you're asking, and just for anyone else, I'll say it. Do you have any tips for someone wanting to get into creating Zenless content? I'm going to answer this for both Zenless and a little bit of Wuthering. I don't have like an exact like do this, this, and this in order to break into the algo or break into the space for the content. But I will say, and people know I'm usually going to say that like something about S-tier content. My definition of S-tier content is different than everybody else's. My version of S-tier content is you putting in like it's high quality. It's high quality edits. You know your transitions. You have good break points. You have good talking points. It's entertaining. You're able to deliver a video that this video is not. No one on the face of earth can consider this slop without hating on it, right? Like you have to be able to appreciate some form of that video in some way, shape, or form. But this is coming from somebody that like, I love the fucking game of editing. All right. So like I said, my version of S-tier content is different than other people's version of S-tier content, which is why I'm not saying that for this answer to what you're saying. Right. But what I will say is good content. I think that can be pretty much agreed upon for everybody, right? Make good content, receive good stuff. Now, we did just talk about the fact that making hateful content or more negative content will get you faster or immediate views, but it does come with that same hateful or negative audience. If I were to give you advice on trying to jump into Zenless or trying to jump into Wuthering, I would say the same thing for both games. Make content or videos around your love for the game. Again, it's easier for anybody. Literally a brand new channel right now could make a brand new channel, make a video, and then say like the title why Wuthering Waves is going to fail in 2025. I guarantee you that video is going to blow up. I guarantee you that video is going to find its way into anyone that does reactions or watches people's video, like, yeah, reaction, right? Watches videos and then reacts to it and gives like their hot take think pieces, and then the comment gets flooded with that viewer's like engagement or whatever. I guarantee you a video like that with that title, thumbnail could be dog shit, packaging could be dog shit. I guarantee you that video will blow up faster than if you were to make a brand new channel and you made a video and it was titled Kakarot versus Final Form Century, difficulty 12. That's a horrible title. Don't use that title. Kakarot versus Century, the final battle, right? And your video is literally a high quality, you're using the camera mod, you're smoothing around, right? You're getting all these different angles. It's a cinematic fight in game. I guarantee you that video would not get views. It would take somebody else finding that video like a rare gem and then mass spreading it, and then you would get the views for it. But it's right. You see what I'm adding things that would have to happen for the video to blow up, versus the other video will naturally blow up because the community naturally clicks on negativity. They naturally, like, it's like a radar. I don't know what it is, but someone just knows, right? Like oh man, my bitch senses are tingling. Someone just uploaded a video bashing Zenless Zone Zero, bashing Wuthering Waves. Someone just uploaded a video bashing my favorite creator. Know where it is. I have the hyperlink. Like, that's what it feels like in my head, you know? And that's how it just happens, but it is what it is. So just make content of you loving the game or your appreciation for the game. And it doesn't have to be like fucking high quality gameplay, right? If you want to yap like I do, you could do that. But you need to provide something if you want to stand out. Provide something that currently doesn't exist or is not lit up enough. And that could be a number of things. Again, easiest way to do it, if you just want it, reactions, drama, think pieces about said drama, right? Your opinion on somebody else's opinion about their hot take from somewhere else 20 years ago. I don't know. That's your easiest way to jump into it. But we do have a good chunk of that, mostly in the Wuthering community. The Zenless community, we don't have a lot of that, but we do have a lot. Like, the Zenless community is definitely like up the alley of more like guides, tier lists, who you should or shouldn't pull for. What we are missing, we're missing the analytical side, or the breakdown, the fun gameplay, like the fun aspects of Zenless, which no one can deny that. I will say that, right? Like, if you play Zenless, you can't deny that the game is fun. All of the events have been fun, except Archipelago and like maybe one other, right? But everything about the game has been fun. The events have been fun. The mini games are fun. Josh, right? Jshua, he runs community or creator random. Actually, he does both community events and creator events, right? For the game. We just had one with the Fall Guys event, and that was a blast to play. He had every single Zenless creator that I could think of. If they were able to make it that night, they were there. And he also had voice actors, right? Like Anby's voice actor was there, Ben's voice actor was there, and a couple others. And he was able to bring everybody in there. Kete? Or is Ket someone else? Kete was supposed to be in there, but then he dipped. But yeah, no, like, I'm just saying, right? Like, that's something that exists, and Josh is trying to push more of that. But as I said at the very beginning of this video, highlighting amazing, awesome shit happening in the community versus not, right? That's all it is. So yeah, but that's pretty much it, dude. End of the day, it's about community you want to build, right? Like, if you do negative content reviews only rather than good content that you want to make, then it will show in the quality of the people you create, correct? A little bit, right? At least. So it's not to say that you're wrong, because you're definitely right, but there is a bit of a nuance to that. There are also situations where you aren't aware, right? Like, and what I mean by that is more along the lines of, like, if you make a video, like I said, and you talk about like, for instance, Ryuk did it. I think Ryuk knew what he was doing at that time, because we talked about it like as a group before, but whatever. Anyway, when you make a video and it's like, okay, here's why I love Wuthering more than Starro or Zenless, or why I love Zenless more than Starro, right? And this is your way of showing your passion or love for the game. The people that don't like Zenless and they love Wuthering, or they love Starro, or they love Genshin, and you're comparing it to that game, they will find the video and then your video will now turn into drama or some form of negativity, even though that might not have been what you meant, right? And this will then curate an audience that is gravitated towards that type of content versus what you were trying to intend to do. Right now you're losing out on the audience. So like I said, it's a little bit more of a nuanced thing in a way, but the concept, right, on paper, it's absolutely correct. Maybe that's just me not looking properly, but I wish there was more guide focus on combat fundamentals like combos, switch tech, and stuff like that, because sometimes I get confused. So Carl, the thing about that is that most creators don't, one, it's very hard to know everything, so we don't know everything, right? Two, most creators just don't want to do it. A really good example is like I talk about all the time, right? Really good examples of the Caesar. Why did I talk like XQC right there? I don't even watch his content. I see his clips though, but a really good example of that is the Caesar thing that I mention all the time. And I say that Caesar is tier 0 for comfort. But if you learn how to optimize like combos, rotations, like you know what you're doing, you take the extra mile to learn the depth behind Zenless or in Zenless, Caesar is not as useful to you as another character would be, right? That type of stuff, even though a creator could be like, hey, this is why this is awesome, you should do it, or here's why you should do it, I like doing it, but you can do it your way or whatever. That type of content I do wish was more in the space. But how do I explain it? Right now, the Zenless audience is, I don't know the percentage, so I'm just gonna say like 50-50, 60-40, 70-30, like, right? Like there's something. The percentage is split between more players like yourself that want to learn the depth of the game. They see that this game has a lot of depth to it that could be applied. They want to learn it, but there's not enough people that are like showcasing it or explaining it. The other side of that are the players that don't give a fuck about that. They think that it's just a baby's first mash, and so that's all they do, and they believe that's all there is to the game is just mashing. Same thing could be said for Wuthering, right? Where it's like, hey, there's a lot of stuff you could do, and even to this day, there's untapped potential in the combat system of Wuthering Waves that's there, right? And like some players are just really cracked at playing the game, and they understand it, and they can break that down. Do they want to make content? Probably not. So you don't have it. But then there's like a whole different audience that's pretty loud, where like they just don't give a fuck, right? How do I do my forte? How do I get into this? Okay, swap here, swap here, swap here, do this the combo as rotation, I'm done. And that's it. That's all they need, because that's what's going to get them to clear. There's just different strokes for different folks. You know, yeah, most players are casual in Zenless, dude. So it's hard to find another creator that wants to do that. Now, like I said, there are a couple creators that I follow, that I'm aware of, and that I talk to, that break Zenless down in that way, or they look for the game to be broken down in that way. Myself, Apple is another one. I'm damn it, it's Yojimbo is just in here. He showed me a couple of his runs too. Yojimbo does it. There's another one, he's in my Discord, I think his name starts with a D. He's also, granted, he's a whale but he's still understanding the game to a more strategic level, or to a deeper level, and he's also making content like that. And there's one more that I wanted to highlight too, that I highlighted them last time, but the name is slipping me, because now it's two. There's two more that I want to highlight now, but Danny Phantom, that's what it is. Their name is Danny Phantom. That's kind of player. I'm not even gonna hold you. That's kind of player. But yeah, no, like there are a couple creators for the Zenless category that I would absolutely want to highlight, because they are looking to like dive deeper into the game. But there are players too. There are more players who do that. They just don't want to make content, right? So like they'll be in the Discords and they'll share some tech, you know. Gib is not doing that, chat. Don't listen to Gib. He's a gaslighter. But yeah, you know, they'll just share tech. They will literally just like, they'll post up a clip. Hey, you know, you can get 27 chain attacks with Evelyn if you do this. What? And now it's there, right? And it's up to a creator on whether or not they'll show that. But the thing that I do find a little disingenuous, but I'm not going to complain about it, is if a if a creator were to mention or like say that these things can be done, but they don't show it or explain it, right? Like let's take that 27 chain attack clip. That's fake, by the way, it doesn't exist. But if it did exist and someone were able to do that, right? And then a creator were like, oh yeah, you can do this. And now they're doing calcs and they're changing the formulas behind like the fact that it's possible, but they themselves cannot execute that. or show how to execute it, that would be a little disingenuous to me. But that's a nitpick, right? Like that's nothing crazy. That's literally a personal thing, right? It has nothing to do with the content at all. Gib has never lied except when he pretends he doesn't have terrible waifu taste. That's fun, bro. That's fun. But yeah, I mean, that's it. I don't know how I ended up yapping on that for like 38 minutes, but it is what it is. We're just talking. Yeah, no, exactly, dude. There's not a lot of, I don't even want to say competition, but both games were like lower on the totem pole for popularity when they launched. So not a lot of creators invested into it. Even when, funnily enough, when Zenless launched, and I'll end the video on this. Funnily enough, when Zenless launched, creators were dipping out. Like big time creators were leaving the game. They didn't want to invest into the game. They weren't making content anymore because the views weren't what they wanted, right? Which is like the 50K, 70, 80, 90, 100K. Because they weren't getting those views on Zenless on launch, they were like, yeah, this game's not going to do well. So they dipped. And that opened up the door for a lot of newborn creators who were primarily focusing on Zenless, like Average Luck Gamer, right? Or Kets or Kate, for them to be able to like find their way into that path. Same thing happened with Weathering. Gib is in here and like him and I had a whole conversation about it. And I'm like, yo, if you want to do Weathering, you need to split it, right? Like make a whole different channel. I didn't tell him to split Weathering. I said he needs to split whatever he was doing between Zenless and Weathering or whatever the hell game he was playing. But I think he decided to split Weathering from it and do it on its own channel. And he saw immediate success, right? Like, and not success like, oh yeah, I'm making 100K views or whatever. But in terms of like the comparison between what he was getting on his main channel versus the other channel, he was able to split it and then it worked out in his favor. So it's just, it's all about like knowing, I don't want to say like knowing the game of YouTube because I'm not even an expert on that. You guys see me struggle all the time, right? Every video I'm struggling, but it's a whole concept of studying. And when you're not me and you're not trying to do 27 different things at one time and you're only doing one, it's a lot easier for you to put all of your focus into that one and then profit from it, right? If I were only doing Zenless, if I were only doing Wua, if I were only doing Monster Hunter, it's a lot easier for me to profit off of that because now all of my creative attention is going towards that one thing. And I think that's a big thing that I do want to end the video off on and highlight is that if you are doing that, jump into one thing and kill it, right? Be the best that you can at that one particular niche and then expand later on. Because it teaches you a number of things. It teaches you a number of things from a content perspective, but that's it. Anyhow, Monster Hunter time.